It's that time. The NFL playoffs are here. We've been waiting for it all season long, and I've teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official partner of the NFL, who's kicking things off with a huge offer. Throughout the playoffs, all new customers, that's all new customers, will get $200 in bonus bets instantly when they place their first $5 wager on anything. Get in on the action this weekend by downloading the DraftKings app, and don't forget to use my promo code 365sports. That's right, customers who bet $5 will get $200 in bonus bets instantly. But you say, Paul, I signed up for the DraftKings app the first time you told me to. Well, guess what? If you've already signed up for it, like I have, you get a no sweat bet, and that's if you get a bonus bet back if your same game parlay does not hit. Max limits do apply. And if sports betting is not available in your area, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with the DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have the chance to win cash prizes. I've done that as well. Love it, love it, love it. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use my promo code 365sports. Bet $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code 365sports only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Man, the emotions from numerous college football fan bases and even administrations have been quite the story the last, well, really for a long time. But today, a roller coaster, and some of you can sleep better and feel better. Paul Catalina being one, although that's like down the list of important stories today. But no, seriously, Texas with Sarkisian, that's official. Mike Norvell, Florida State, that's official. And Kalen DeBoer, after what seemed to be kind of an agonizing wait to Alabama, he has a team meeting in 25 minutes up in Seattle. That's official. Chris Lowe reporting, he's been all over this since the Nick Saban retirement, that he will be the next head football coach at Alabama. His record against Dan Lanning and also Steve Sarkisian, 5-0. When he was the coach at Washington, including, of course, the semifinal win against the Horns. They'll be playing against each other in the SEC at some point again. But Alabama gets Kalen DeBoer, and, I mean, woo! Let's talk about that first. This guy's got an amazing track record, even though very young when it comes to being a head coach at the FBS level.
Look, some people just know how to win games. I mean, like, they're good coaches. It doesn't, I think sometimes people get drilled down, and congratulations to Washington when they hired him, and now Alabama had to wait for him to win at Washington for 2 years, but, they didn't have an opening either. But congratulations to them for initially saying, like, yeah, this guy wins. It doesn't really matter what you do. His formula works no matter level to level. And that's what Kalen DeBoer's done. He's won everywhere he's been. And I know it sucks for UW fans, but look, this is the Jimmy Sexton will never have, and he's still going to be a wildly successful agent, but he will never have another week like this in his entire career. Nor maybe will any agent ever, because there's no other way for a Saban-type thing to happen, especially in college football, because the game's about to change. So not only have we seen the retirement of the greatest coach of all time, like the next person who's going to be in that argument could be 100 years from now because of the way that college football is going to change. And it's very strange to say that, but there's not going to be another Saban or anybody even close because of the way that the postseason is about to change alone. Not to mention, everything else that's gone on in college football.
Well, congratulations to Alabama on finding your head coach. It was not a long wait, but you got what you wanted, and you got your answers as to what the future is going to look like, at least at the very top, and now the rest of the answers can start to get filled in as far as the recruiting class and the roster and the assistant coaching staff and all of those various things, although I'm sure he will bring a hefty chunk of resources with him from Washington as far as the staff goes at the very minimum. But he's a winner. That's that's the easiest and most simple thing to say about this. I mean, there's not many guys who could have gone there across the country, no matter the big names or not, that have a more impressive resume than he does as far as just winning football games. I mean, 104-12 in his career, had the 5 years at Sioux Falls where he was 67-3, including 3 NAIA championships. Played in a semifinal, lost that one, played in another championship game. So he was at the semifinal at minimum in all 5 years and won 3 titles out of 5 years. In NAIA was 12-6 at Fresno State during a weird COVID little period there in 20 and 2021, but then got that Washington job and proceeded to go 25-3 in 2 years, including this past season with the Sugar Bowl win and then the loss in the national championship game to Michigan, but the Pac-12 title, had the Alamo Bowl win over Texas in his first year with UW. So, yeah, I mean, just an incredibly impressive run that he's on, and just really getting started, too. I mean, I know he's coached since 2005 as far as a head coach goes, but it does feel like he's still on his upswing, and so that's something that I think is also exciting for Alabama fans is this guy's just been good wherever he's been, and he's also somebody who still feels like they've got more untapped potential to go. And so I think that it's about as good as you could have done, given the circumstances, and knowing that, hey, Dan Lanning, if he was your first choice, that was just not going to be a go for you. And then as far as all the rest of the names, I mean, who are we talking to? Because some people would tell you, well, Mike Norvell turned down the job. Others will tell you he never got offered. Same thing for Sarkisian, same thing for whoever you want to fill in the blanks, and that's going to be all just, however you want to interpret
ego
that.
Stroking.
Yeah, that's all however you want to interpret that
and
information.
It might be true, yeah.
But the bottom line is they got their guy. That's what matters. And now the real work begins to be the man that follows Nick Saban. But as far as somebody who doesn't seem like they would be scared of that, and they would embrace that, and they could probably be the type of person to go in there and do just that. Not exactly what he did, but good enough. I think you don't have many guys above the list, above Kalen DeBoer. So I like this hire for the Tide, and also at the same time I acknowledge that I don't think this is going to be what it has been, as good as he is, because it's just simply impossible to imagine that outside of like Kirby Smart, that somebody would be able to roll in and do what Saban's done these last couple of decades. So, yeah, we're about to enter a fascinating time period, and this is already going to be a brand-new era in college sports with the expanded playoff and everything that's bubbling, but to know that we're moving forward and there's no longer Nick Saban at Alabama is just like that. It really makes it feel like this is just uncharted territory we're about to enter here.
In the end, who knows if they got the guy they wanted? Doesn't matter. They got a great coach. It appears from what he's done so far, it is different. One of the notes I saw, and I forgot who tweeted this out, but was maybe Alex Kirshner said the NIL at Alabama, one of the things tied into that was the representation of Saban, not just as the football coach, but those who were involved. There were perks about that came with Saban, too, in certain ways. DeBoer did an incredible job at Washington, and that team this year was fun to watch. Now the question is, who's going to be their quarterback next year? Somebody who's already on the roster? Will it be somebody that transfers from another school? That's part of the deal. So Washington now is on the clock. And then think about this. Before we get into some of the candidates, Washington's on the clock. They'll hire somebody, unless it's Ryan Grubb, who's on the staff now, and maybe he goes with DeBoer to Alabama, then somebody else's program is about to be on the clock because of the domino effect of what happens with coaching searches.
Well, it was very interesting that they announced that radio interview yesterday, and that seemed like he was going to shut the door, and that would be his opportunity for the big announcement. And we know Sark put out his little graphic last night, just like I predicted, and everybody probably expected that that he would. I mean, and you knew that was coming at some point, some sort of acknowledgement for the public, and never really felt like a real threat. I mean, you had to at least acknowledge the chance that he could look into that job. It is Alabama after all, but I think most everyone figured that he would be pretty fine where he is in Austin and can carve out his own niche and not follow Nick Saban and can kind of just keep building on, can just keep building what he's done so far at Texas, which makes a lot of sense. But there was that announcement about the radio interview, and, I mean, what else could that be other than Kalen DeBoer coming on the radio to announce that he's staying on?
Yep. And
then that gets canceled, and boom, off to the races as far as the speculation and the narrative change there. So, yeah, that was a big interview that was set up, and the moment that got canceled, you knew something was going on. I saw KJR like, yeah, well, we're reworking it, but the writing was on the wall there, and so the ball started rolling, and here we are, and Alabama's got their new football coach, and yeah, now we wait to see what other collateral damage there could be. Although, Grubb seems like he's a solid candidate if they decide to go that direction and stay in-house, but yeah, we will see.
All right, so here's a few of the names. Ryan Grubb is one of them that Washington might look to. Jed Fish, that name popped up, although I saw where our good friend Jason Scheer mentioned that he thinks Fish wants to end up at Florida, and if he wants to do that, why would he go to Washington first from where he is, especially after what they did last year at Arizona? So it will be interesting to see. Our good friend Softy Mahler, who we love, right? Stick your head in the tank of gasoline, light it with a match ×2 with him. I got to get off this emotional roller coaster. Think about the week for Washington football. They played for the national championship. They lose their head coach. And then on top of that, and we will get to the Norvell and Sarkisian a little bit more with that in a second, Rome Odunze is headed to the NFL. The players that they have lost already at Washington since they played for the national championship include McMillan, Polk, Penix, Odunze, and there's also a couple of others on that list. Some of that just because of attrition, eligibility, the NFL, and more.
Their running back, Dylan Johnson
announced today as well. Yeah, so he's another one.
They lost pretty much everybody. So that was a factor on offense. They got cleaned out. Some of that, Penix had to move on, but that is not a surprise, though. I think even if DeBoer was staying, all those guys were likely headed off to the NFL after the year that they had. But, yeah, it's one of those things that we were talking about with Texas, but it can be applied to anybody. When they had the opportunity there to beat Washington and get into the national title game, a lot of the talk afterwards is, well, they're set up well. And I totally agree. I'm not dismissing that at all. But I was saying at the time of like, yeah, but you only get these chances so often, right? And yes, there will be an expanded playoff, but you were already fast-forwarded to the semifinals of the playoff with the way that it was set up here. And so you just don't know when you catch lightning in a bottle, right? And as we know for Texas, like they lost and they moved on. But the same thing applies to Washington. Like hopefully you enjoyed that ride, because it's not the same now. It's already not the same less than a week later. And so that was kind of my message back then, is like, enjoy this while you can, no matter if it's Texas, Washington, Alabama fans. I sure hope that you enjoyed the ride these last 2 decades. I'm sure you did. You had plenty of time to let it soak in. But, yeah, you just don't know when things switch on a dime. And for Washington, that's exactly what's happened, because their reality at the start of this week is much different than their reality by the end of the week. And so, yeah, I hope that Husky fans really let that soak in all throughout the ride, because we do get lost and don't just appreciate the moment. And they had a lot of good ones. But, yeah, now it's a much different future moving forward.
There is a little momentum, Paul and Craig, on the possibility of someone who might be on Washington's radar, Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, I saw that tweet. I don't understand that at all, honestly. I don't really get that. I don't know that I would be super excited about that necessarily if I was a Washington fan. I saw that from some account that put it out there, and I'm sure that they have sources. I don't know. I don't know the person.
But some people in the NFL and also even some college writers too.
I feel like let's acknowledge first what all these rumors originally stem from. Jimmy Sexton's office. I think that's been acknowledged all over social media the last couple of days. Of every guy who's been brought up is basically a Jimmy Sexton client, and basically every major college football coach is a Jimmy Sexton client. So when we see this, hey, this guy, it's you always go back to the agent. So maybe that's Kingsbury's agent. Maybe that's actually some real juice there. But, does that get you excited as a Washington fan? It doesn't get me excited. I don't think that's the route that I would want to go, but maybe they feel differently about it.